So we've made our drinks, we've frothed our milk, but now it's time to get into the nitty-gritties of some of the alerts that you might be receiving on this machine. Now, one of the great things about having a display is that if the Magenta needs your attention for really any reason, there's usually an alert that will accompany that to let you know, hey, I need something from you. So let's actually take a look at how we would address some of the things that show up on the screen. Now, if you ever need to remove our drip tray assembly here, the first thing that we'll want to do is actually position the wand off to the left so that we can slide this out. Now, I'm going to put both hands on the edges, and if you notice where my index fingers are, there are circular little tabs on the baseline Magenta. Those are just there as part of the design, but on the Magenta Prestige, they are buttons that you push in, so when you're removing the assembly on the Prestige, you'll simply push those in and pull that out. Now, let's get our fingers in position though, and simply pull forward, and that releases the entire assembly. Now, when we remove this, you can see several things here. We have the entirety of the drip tray itself, which goes pretty far back, and then the Dreg drawer. So this is where our spent coffee pucks go after they're done being brewed. So it's important to just take that out and knock those into the garbage. Now, if you notice, there is still some kind of ground coffee in the base of this. And that's because, especially if your machine is brand new, it is going to take a little bit of time before the grind cycle gets you those cohesive pucks. So you may want to just rinse that out as well. If you ever really want to give this more of a deep clean, I'd say rinse it out and then leave it to air dry overnight before putting it back in the machine. Now, one other thing that I want to mention about the drip tray in particular is that there is not an alert if the drip tray is full like you might see for other alerts on the screen. Instead, we have a float here. So what I'm going to do is pour water into the tray. I'll do that from behind for some movie magic here. But as that water level in the tray rises, you can start to see that float rise and bob. And if you ever see it kind of bobbing like this, that's your cue to really take this drip tray out and empty it. Because again, as you can see how deep this is, when you need to take this to the sink, you're going to have to balance all this water in here. So my recommendation is that whenever you are refilling the machine, or if you're going to empty the Dreg drawer, just empty the drip tray as well. It can really save you some hassle in the long run. Now we'll move this out of the way, and we'll take a look though at the other internal mechanism inside the machine. This is our brew group, and this is actually where the coffee is being brewed. So you can see here this whole assembly. The grinder feeds coffee directly into it, or our bypass goes down in there as well. This is what's called a brew group. So inside the Magenta, we have the group itself, and then we have a little tray underneath. Now, to remove this, we'll simply push on this tab, and it slides out. So about every week or so, you'll want to remove this from the machine, rinse areas like the intake, the shower screen, we have the other part of the screen up here, and we have our puck ejection ramp. All these can get coffee grounds built up on them, so rinsing them on a weekly basis is nice, and it's good just to maintain the machine. You want to do that and then let this air dry as well before reinserting it. And so the internal mechanisms inside the group which slide, that's actually where you apply the Brew Group lubricant. And now in the manual, it will go into more details, but basically that's done on a 1 to 4 month basis, depending on the number of drinks that you're making. So we'll slide this out, and then this little tray here too can also be lifted out and rinsed. And then once you've done all that, you can simply reassemble the machine. So all you want to do is you've got your tracks here, line up the bottom corners with that. It's good to just be straight on with this, and then push back in. And now if you have not securely reinserted the group, the machine will prompt you with a message saying, hey, you haven't put the brew group in properly, so you may need to actually open it back up and make sure that you've gotten it securely inserted. But other than that, that's how you would take care of any of the things that the Magenta or Magenta Prestige needs you for. Now, bear in mind there may be a couple of other different alerts for things like the carafe on the Magenta Prestige, and all of that is pretty explanatory just by looking at what the screen is showing you. And that covers the Magenta series of espresso machines by Gaggia. And while they may not be pink, they are in fact named after a trendy cafe in Italy. So in any case, I am Nick. Thank you so much for watching.